welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And there's a lot to talk about on this Wednesday, May 7th. Here's everything that's coming up. Could the Niners target a wide receiver who was just let go by the Jacksonville Jaguars this morning? Ian Rapoport with some Brock Purdy contract insight. I know a lot of you can't wait for that because you're not tired of all these Brock Purdy contract updates. We have some interesting Pro Football Focus metrics on this Niners draft class here in the aftermath of the 2025 NFL Draft and George Kittle's contract advice for his quarterback. And let's begin with topic number one here. Some news this morning, and it's been a busy news day across the National Football League. You had the Cowboys trading for Steelers wide receiver George Pickens. You had the Eagles bringing back Dallas Goedert, and the Jacksonville Jaguars releasing Gabe Davis 14 months after giving him a contract worth nearly $40 million. And so last offseason, the Jags, feeling the pressure of trying to win, surround Trevor Lawrence with a good wide receiver alongside Brian Thomas with ETN in that backfield. It didn't work out. But the Jags did sign Davis to a 3-year, $39 million contract. He goes on to play 10 games, catches 20 passes, 239 yards. That ended up being a bad signing for Jacksonville in what was a disastrous 2024 season in Duval for the Jags. And John Feliciano, former Niners offensive lineman who spent a long time in the National Football League, tweeting this out after that news broke that Davis was let go by Jacksonville. Gabe Davis would be a perfect fit in San Francisco. And I want to expand on that. Davis is certainly an interesting player. He's been very productive throughout his NFL career. 2020 fourth-round pick out of Central Florida by the Buffalo Bills. Good size at 6'2", 225 pounds. Still only 26 years old. He's one of those players who feels as though he's been in the league a lot longer than what his age actually is. He's with Buffalo for the duration of his rookie contract, 2020 to 2023. And then he worked himself up to a point where he was highly productive and got a bag from Jacksonville and spent one lone season with the Jags. And in his career, you take a look at some of the numbers. Up until last year, very productive player who is also durable and available. Rookie year, 16 games, 11 starts, 35 catches, 599 yards, 17.1 yards per catch, and 7 touchdowns. Year 2, 4 games started, 16 games played once again, and once again, another very productive season. 35 catches for 549, 15.7 yards per pop, and 6 touchdowns. 2022, probably a career year for him. 93 targets, 48 catches, 836 yards, 17.4 yards per catch, a long of 98 with 7 more touchdowns. And then another, once again, very productive season in 2023 where he has 43 catches, 746 yards with 7 touchdowns. So that's a lot of touchdowns as he's been an explosive player, a good red zone target, and a big-bodied wide receiver who's been highly productive as far as catching touchdown passes. That's 29 touchdowns in 54 starts, 72 games played, and he's been pretty good in the playoffs too. No playoff year better than 2021 when he really burst onto the scene. He had that huge game, and I believe the wild card or the divisional round. And when you scout Gabe Davis, he's big, he's physical along the sideline, he can create separation with good physicality and hand fighting. He uses his big body to his advantage to kind of give his quarterback a throwing window. In the pre-draft process, he ran pretty well, sub-4.5 40-yard dash at that size. He can also track it over his shoulder, he can high point, and as I mentioned, he can run pretty well. He also, and this is why I think Feliciano said he'd be a good fit with the Niners, does not shy away from contact or blocking. And Kyle Shanahan, as we know, wants wide receivers who love the game of football, who play hard, who play physical, who have some swagger about them, who don't drop a lot of passes, and they are willing blockers in the run game. As far as where the Niners stand at the wide receiver position, they're certainly in an interesting spot. We're not sure when Brandon Ayuk is going to come back. could be before week 1, could be midway through the 2025 season. Let's just say that Ayuk doesn't come back for a bit and he misses some time. Maybe he goes on PUP to start the year because he suffered that catastrophic knee injury against Kansas City in October of 2024, and there were multiple torn ligaments inside that knee. Ricky Pearsall becomes wide receiver 1. Jawan Jennings becomes wide receiver 2. Demarcus Robinson elevates to wide receiver 3. And then after that, you try to figure it out. You drafted Jordan Watkins out of Ole Miss. He was explosive while with Ole Miss. And as a 4-3 runner, Jacob Cowan goes into year 2. You added Russell Gage. You have Tariq Owens, Trent Taylor, not going to make the 53-man roster. You also have a player like Isaiah Hodgins. Isaiah Nair is 220 pounds. He ran a 4.4 in the pre-draft, but plays like Jane, but looks like Tarzan. So looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane is kind of the saying there. The Niners drafted Junior Bergen out of Montana in the 7th round. And so they could stand to add a wide receiver like Gabe Davis. Fits the scheme, would be an outside guy. If you put Ricky Pearsall in the slot, I think that's better for him. Jawan Jennings showed last year that he can line up on the outside. He's a willing blocker, and he gives you a lot of production and a lot of physicality. You'd have to see where that knee is because he suffered that knee injury last year, which is what cut his season short. But I agree with John Feliciano. An interesting player for the Niners with how they like to run the things offensively and with what he does at that wide receiver position with what the Niners ask their wide receivers to do. So I'm going to leave it up to you. Feliciano said he'd be a good fit with San Francisco. What do you think? Should the Niners show interest in Gabe Davis? Give me an S for sign or a P for pass. As always, join the conversation down in the comment section right now. Topic number 2, Ian Rapoport with some contract insight on Brock Purdy. We've heard a couple of different reports this week. One was that a deal is getting close from Mike Jones of The Athletic. John Lynch said things are moving in a good direction. But then Rapoport basically saying, I have not gotten the sense that it'll get done soon. More from Rapoport here. He said, but it does at least seem like it's going in the right direction. George Kittle's deal was sort of a little bit quicker. They got the Fred Warner deal they could do. Quarterback deals usually take longer, but it seems like it's a positive and it's headed in the right direction. Just we'll see if they get that good landing spot somewhere in the 50s to get Brock Purdy locked in long term. Lastly, usually for quarterbacks, it's like, is he going to sign right before training camp? And then if he doesn't, it's like he'll hold out a lot of times, but that's kind of the next step. Mandatory minicamp is a deadline, sort of. Training camp deadline, that's kind of the next thing. So mid-June or late July are the dates to keep in mind. Well, as we're sitting here recording this show, it's May 7th. So if this deal gets done mid-June or late July, that is not happening anytime soon. And Rapoport threw out some of the notable dates to look out for in the future. Rookie minicamp for San Francisco this Friday and Saturday. Looking forward to that, to see how these rookies look in a Niner uniform for the first time. OTAs for San Francisco are set for May 27th, May 28th, May 30th, June 2nd to the 3rd, and then June 5th. And then the big date there, mandatory minicamp, when all players are expected to be there, June 10th and June 11th. And as I continue to say, this is why it's so important for the San Francisco 49ers to get this Brock Purdy deal done early. Learn from your previous experiences with Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, and Brandon Ayuk. That led to a lot of contract drama, a lot of unnecessary noise, some awkwardness within your organization, and you can't afford to have your quarterback, the most important position in all of sports, to be holding out of training camp. You also want him to be there for the start of mandatory minicamp about this time next month. The offense last year for San Francisco was poorly coached. It was out of sync. That led to Purdy struggling in addition to all of these injuries. And when you get these practice reps, they're so valuable. It leads to better offensive timing, a lot more offensive harmony, and it leads to your offensive unit being in sync, which is what it was not last year. And that allows you then to start the season here in 2025 looking to rebound and flush what happened last year when you went 6-11 to hit the ground running right from the jump to try to get back into the playoffs in a very competitive NFC West and a very competitive NFC. My final Brock Purdy contract prediction is this. I think the Niners give him a deal between $53 and $55 million in average annual value. I think that Purdy gets $200 million in guaranteed cash, and I think it ends up being a 5-year contract. That's usually what these quarterback contracts are, but it will be structured in a way where if it doesn't work out for Purdy and San Francisco, they can get out of it after year 3 or 4. So $53 to $55 million will make him one of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League. $200 million in guaranteed money is right up there with the Trevor Lawrences of the world, who I think Brock Purdy is better than and has played better than. And then you get a little bit of team security where you can get out of that contract after year 3 or year 4. That right there, my final Brock Purdy contract prediction. The big question, how much will Purdy get per year? I want you to drop your predictions for me down in the comment section right now. So, as I mentioned off the top, loaded show here today. Talked about Gabe Davis, talked about Brock Purdy, still to come. Pro Football Focus had some interesting things to say about this Niners draft class, considering they gave the Niners a D grade for what they did in this draft. And then still to come, George Kittle's contract advice for Brock Purdy. Our show today, sponsored by our great friends at Brunt. They sent me these incredible work boots. They are comfortable. They are durable. They look good. And I suggest you give them a try. You can see them for yourself at bruntworkwear.com/chat. And when you use the code chat, you get $10 off. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. If they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Well, Brunt Workwear finally ended that trade-off, designing boots that withstand the toughest job sites while feeling as comfortable as your favorite sneakers. Founder Eric Gerard grew up blue-collar. He started Brunt after his friends in the trades encouraged him to start a workwear brand that was really built for them. That's why all Brunt products are named after the guys who he grew up with. These might be the most comfortable work boots on the planet. Growing up, I loved woodworking. I still do. It's one of my hobbies outside of talking football. And so when I'm woodworking, I can't run the risk of dropping big pieces of wood if I'm putting together a table on my feet. That's why I love these work boots. But I'm also really into fitness, and I need them to be comfortable and good for my feet. Brunt work boots are. They have additional products as well, and for a limited time, our listeners, our viewers, get $10 off at Brunt when you use the code CHAT at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com/chat, use that code CHAT, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask you where you heard about Brunt, tell them that Chat Sports, the 49ers Report, and Chase Sr. sent you. I'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's San Francisco 49ers Report. We move forward on the program here. Pro Football Focus ranked their top 10 draft classes based upon 3-year Pro Football Focus grades for their prospects. So while PFF gave the Niners a D grade for what they did overall in the NFL draft, they ranked number 1 in this category. Here's what PFF had to say. The San Francisco 49ers lead the way. After losing key veterans in free agency, the Niners reloaded with a class full of proven college producers, including 4 players with 3-year PFF grades over 90. After losing several established veterans, the Niners took running back Jordan James. He stands out as he earned a 92.4 Pro Football Focus grade over the past 3 seasons at Oregon. He should provide valuable depth behind Christian McCaffrey. San Francisco added 3 more prospects with 3-year grades above 90. Quarterback Curtis Rourke, cornerback Upton Stout, and interior defender C.J. West. The Niners will need a good portion of this group to contribute quickly to offset their offseason losses, and they've made some solid bets by targeting players with proven production. Proven production, certainly part of this Niners draft class. PFF also saying and talking about how San Francisco able to beef up that defensive line, especially along the interior of this Niners defensive line. And I really like what they did in that regard. But what I don't understand, you're going to give the Niners the best grade here based upon 3-year PFF grades, but then for their entire draft, you're going to give them a D. Don't you value prospects on what they did according to your metrics? That should be the case, but I guess it's not. So a little bit conflicting stuff here from PFF. As for those 3-year PFF grades, Maliek Williams, first-round pick, 11th overall, an 81.8 3-year PFF grade. Alfred Collins at 87.8. They got Nicholas Martin at 69.1. Upton Stout at 90.7. Defensive lineman C.J. West at 90.6. Jordan Watkins, 70.7. Jordan James at 92.4. Marquis Siegel at 87.7. And then Curtis Rourke at 91.9. Furthermore, Connor Colby, 74.5. And Junior Bergen, 75.4. So, as I've said, I like what the Niners did. They're bringing an identity back, hopefully, to the defensive side of the ball. A lot of these players have very intriguing athletic traits. They all have a history of stopping the run, and a lot of them graded pretty favorably per Pro Football Focus, a site that we obviously use a lot here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. All right, lastly, George Kittle gave contract advice to Brock Purdy in only a way that George Kittle, the people's tight end, could. And he originally got that advice from Richard Sherman. Here's how it goes. So Kittle said this: the first time I was going through contract negotiations in 2020, it was a long process. And Richard Sherman just said, hey, look, contracts are like braces. You hate them. They look terrible the entire time that they're on. But the second you get them off, you have a beautiful smile and a bag of cash, and you won't remember anything about the braces. I was like, that was awesome. And that is exactly how you feel about it. I was thankful to have a leader like that. Sherm gave me those tips, and as long as I can pass those down to other guys, it's very helpful. That is a great quote. I've already used that quote on Brock, not to bring him into this, but I already used that quote for him, and he likes it as well. And obviously, Kittle got that deal done early for San Francisco. He said, it was great to get that deal out of the way. Hopefully the Niners follow suit with Purdy, and hopefully Purdy takes that advice from George Kittle, who got that advice from Richard Sherman. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Videos coming your way every single day right here on the show. And as always, thanks for watching, and thanks for your support.